Ladies, I don't know if you're like me, but I like my conversations like I like my drinks. Straight, no chaser. Is that job killing your soul? Well, it's time to leave that cubicle farm and dump that job like a bad ex-boyfriend and leap into entrepreneurship full time. I am Linda Otterbridge, your host of the No Plan B Entrepreneur podcast, where I interview fierce lady bosses who have pursued their dreams and did so without a safety net. Welcome to the No Plan B Entrepreneur podcast. Welcome to the No Plan B Entrepreneur Straight No Chaser podcast show. So glad you're here, Miss Regina Patterson of RRP Marketing. And to make sure I got that right.
Yes, we got it right.
We've been trying to connect for a minute, so I'm glad we finally got a chance to get together and have you as a guest on my podcast show. Because, girl, I know you got some stuff to share.
I do.
So I said, let me see who I can find. But I knew when you started posting, you have a Facebook group. Your Facebook group is called
Melanin and Marketing.
Melanin and Marketing. So when your Facebook group launched, you were talking about all things marketing. And then you were talking about your journey. It's almost like a visual journal, because you was talking about your the day-to-day of going full-time entrepreneurship, and you were just talking about the struggles and the challenges. And I said, yep. Wrote your name on my little board. I said, yep, I gotta get her.
Awesome.
I gotta get her to the show. And as you know, on the No Plan B Entrepreneur Show, we interview women who have done it. They've taken that leap and they've left the cubicle farm and said, I'm just gonna do this, and my no plan B of ever going back kind of thing. So right. That's what the show is all about. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to allow you to definitely introduce yourself. Again, we're talking today to Ms. Regina Patterson of RRP Marketing. And tell us a little bit about yourself, Regina, and what you do. And
yeah, so I am the owner and principal of RRP Marketing. I took the leap full-time in October of 2019, and I've had this entrepreneurial bug probably since definitely college. I know that much. Even before, maybe even before college. I'm not sure, because initially I went to college. I went to Michigan State University, and I went there. My original major was general business pre-law, and the goal was to have a private practice, there. So that was entrepreneurship, while I was there and everything. Right. But I changed my major to marketing very early on because I needed a job once I left, and not to go directly to law school. Uh-huh. And so, I've been doing this marketing thing since 2003. It took me a while to find a good job in marketing. So I graduated in 2002 from Michigan State. Took about a year to find, a good job. And then I've been doing it since then. So, some people say, some people fall into their field and they do it, full time. And right. Some people kind of take a journey, and they don't, go into their field. I was lucky and blessed enough to, be in my field and just to progress over the years.
Exactly. Boy, you took some turns there, didn't you? Did you say Michigan State within the, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So have you ever had that itch to go back into that?
I only thought about going to law school probably around 2017.
Wow.
Maybe I thought about it a little bit, and it was more because of how I can help our community when, all the Black guys are dying, getting killed by police. I have a very big social justice play, which actually is a lot of the reason why I went back, why I operate my business full time, right? And why I have Melanin and Marketing and that type of thing, and who I felt like my target market is, right? Is because of helping us. Like, I have the fortunate ability to have 2 degrees actually. I have a undergrad degree in marketing, and I have a grad degree at MBA with a strategic management focus.
Look at this girl. Hiding out under all them degrees and covers. Hiding out all this stuff, knowledge out there. You playing around. Why you let me know this? Oh, I just don't know it.
Well, I do a little bit sometimes, but sometimes I don't think that it's necessary to just flaunt like degrees and all this kind of stuff. And I think because also I've had my degrees and I've had so much experience for so stinking long, that it's just like, it's just a natural part of what I do. And, that was the whole thing when it came to business, is that so many people are creating businesses and, as I saw someone else say, like promoting themselves to CEO before they're ready to be CEO. And so having this experience working for, these larger brands, sometimes smaller brands, and working with these companies and having these degrees, I can see what people are not doing and missteps that they're making, right? And so that was one of the biggest focuses for Melanin in marketing, was to get really in front of our face, people of color, and say, okay, this is the business that you could have.
Right.
These are the steps you're not taking. And honestly, I'm not a flashy or shiny brand. Nothing like that. It's just more or less like, this is practical knowledge. This is something that's implemented, it's tried and true.
Love it.
And and there's not just one formula. That's the biggest thing also. Right now, people feel like there's one formula. Like, if I promote myself on social media and if I go, then things will happen. And I'm like, there are so many different tactics that are out there. Like, I started marketing before Facebook was even invented.
Right.
So, or maybe it was invented. No, I think it was invented in 2004.
Girl.
So, like,
you've seen some stuff then.
Yeah. I've seen it like progress. Twitter wasn't around, Instagram wasn't around. None of these things were around.
Right.
And so what did it mean for marketing before all of this was around? Because all those principles still exist. What does it mean for strategic management, organizations, organizational behavior? Like, what do you need to do as a person, to get ready for a business? What does the financial landscape look like? All of that.
So she just told y'all that she been around way before all this started. So she coming with some stuff. So she done told you guys to hold on for the ride for the rest of this interview, because she has some knowledge, some expertise, some years of stuff that's about to happen. So I wouldn't leave quite yet, but the rest is coming. So, because I love the way you started off, I love when people give their history, because it helps people to understand where the company started from.
Yeah.
Where our marketing, make sure I get it right, RRP Marketing, where Melanin and Marketing started from. What caused you to, everybody got a story. And I'm big on stories. I like to know where people beginning. Tell me your backstory.
Sure.
Tell me the backstory. This is fine what I see, but let me know how it started. That's what I'm more interested in. How did it start?
Exactly.
So thank you for sharing the backstory.
You're welcome.
Of how you started and how you progressed into this. So now that we got this, we get ready to pick your brain on some other stuff. Okay. So, that's a good start. I was wondering how it started too. Like, where did she get the name from? Melanin and Marketing. RRP. So yes, now I know. So my first question to you, and this is gonna be easy because I already gave you a little bit of background of what I'm gonna ask, but I would like to know what businesses. Actually, you did answer that, because that was my first question. Tell me about your business and what caused you to take that leap. Tell me about that. What caused you to take this leap into full-time entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so really, honestly, I was working for Major Brand X.
I love that you says that. Major Brand X.
And there were a lot of things that were happening in the world. So many things were happening, and primarily for me, it was when the Black Lives Matter campaign came out, and I kept seeing Black men being killed by police, and I really started to feel helpless in the job that I had. It's like, okay, what can I do here to help these situations? Social justice is a big thing for me. How much can we really even talk about this at work? That type of thing. And one of the things that I really thought about was that when people who have money have power, right? And so in order to change the landscape, so that, when I was talking about the whole, like, should I go back to law school, that type of thing? Well, the thing that I realized, even in my field, what I do is that when people have money, they have power. So if I can help diversify wealth, my one little piece of it by helping people, create and sustain better businesses
Mm-hmm.
and implement better business models, then I can help us have a voice in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Where it became big, like, okay, I need to do this. Now, some, more practical things when we think about, like, you see people getting promoted and you're like, okay, wait, I've had a boss tell me, like, you're actually my boss's boss. It wasn't even my boss. Like, you're probably smarter than me in marketing, right? And so it's like, okay, well, why am I not making these advancements? Why are these things, not happening for me? And even at that company, I had a conversation. We talked about, inclusion and diversity a lot. And I said, I just don't know that I want to put forth the effort to be like the first. Being the first takes so much work. It's so draining, that type of thing. And do I really want to take that journey there?
Right.
And I guess my answer was no, I didn't. It was like, time to go.
Wow. And that's what pushed you out here.
Yeah, so that's what pushed me. And I will say that it took a little bit longer after that. So I went to another job where I had a little bit more flexibility to focus on, like, building my business. So what I did was I took a major pay cut, like a major pay cut, probably like $20,000 to $30,000.
Oh, wow. That's a major pay cut.
Pay cut, right? And was still working.
That's a shaving. That's
right. And was like really working to build my business. So that's what I did. I took a pay cut. Then I was like, oh crap, I don't really, love this job. So then I went back into traditional marketing, or, into the marketing field. And that's when I knew. I was like, nope, this isn't going to work anymore. And I was like, nope, I'm gone. Yeah.
And that was it.
That was it.
Oh. Well, with that, my next question is, you said that was it. You're now into it. How many months or how many years?
So October 2019, October 10th to be exact, was the last day of my full-time working traditionally full-time job. October 10th afternoon, whatever. 11th was when I went, full-time for myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so exciting. Well, at this time, I'm in 3 weeks of layoff and I'm excited. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's so nice. It's like you wake up and you're like, oh, I can do all my stuff myself. I don't have to worry about going into work. It's just so freeing and so like 3 weeks in, and I'm enjoying it. So I am just like in awe of you, like, boy, that must be nice.
It's nice, but it's a ton of work, and we'll probably like get to that question later.
That's my next question.
A lot. Okay. Yeah. So
I want to hear about the work. So my next question to you: what are some of the benefits to jumping in as a no plan B entrepreneur? Mm-hmm. And then, if you can talk about what are some things you would have done differently and some of the what are the benefits and some of the challenges?
So benefits, exactly what you just said. Like, honestly, like you filter yourself in this world so much, when you're working for somebody else. So when you're working full time, it all depends on what your business model is going to be, right? Mm-hmm. But I knew that RRP Marketing, Melanin Marketing, both of those, we're a very raw, organization. Like, that's part of our brand. Part of our brand is just to be authentic, to be who we are, to be unapologetically Black, unapologetically bold, like all of those things. And so working for yourself, you can be all those things, as long as you prescribe, this is who my business is, right? Mm-hmm. And that's who my brand is. So from that, I don't like having a filter. So I don't have to have a filter that much anymore. Also, the freedom of your work schedule, clearly, like, that's one big thing. I don't work any days generally until I generally, if I have morning meetings, like, I'll work for that. But then, like, I work generally in the afternoon until the wee hours of the morning. So, we will talk about that part. But I do, work until the wee hours of the morning sometime. Benefits, taking walks, just during the middle of the day. Taking a break when you feel like it, and not worrying about, like, who's looking over your shoulder. Can I go to Michael's right now? Juggling to, when you're working full time for somebody else, and then you're, also working for yourself, like juggling like a daytime schedule too, right? Like I need to call people on breaks, or can I, go to a meeting during the day? I couldn't go to meetings, during like I wouldn't be able to do this, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All my lunch hours would be over at whatever in the area where I worked at. I'd be doing my lunch hours and stuff. I'm like, this is so tiring now. Mm-hmm.
It's so tiring, and so those things I think are the biggest benefits. When it comes to challenging, challenges are these are things that I learned probably before, when I thought about doing this before, and then some things now. Managing your schedule is definitely hard. And when I say that, for me specifically, is having that work-life balance, right? Mm-hmm. So when you're a workaholic, the way that I can be sometimes, you pretty much get up, start working, and then 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're like, let me go to sleep, right? So when did you actually take a break, right? And like we're in Michigan, and so during the winter is hibernation phase also. So then it's really like, okay, I'm not going outside to take a walk or, all this type of stuff. So you find yourself working like all these hours, like I didn't take a break. And it's because it's something that you love, but you still actually need to take a break.
I got to jump in here. Because as soon as you said that, my husband does that. You creatives. And he does the marketing, online, building stuff and websites. I'm like, dude, did you sleep like 2 days ago? When's the last time you slept?
Exactly.
Like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. He's up roaming, all online, got lights on, and like in production mode. I'm like, what in the heck is going on?
Right.
Then you see him, it's like, did you just like go to sleep at 5, 6 o'clock?
Absolutely, yes.
Now go to sleep to get up at 11, 12.
Yeah. You count those hours. You're like, well, technically, if I would have been working in traditional
Girl, you sound just like them. You piecing together
7 hours. Exactly, right? Technically, I still got this time frame.
Don't y'all fall for that, people. Don't fall for that. That is not 8 straight hours of sleep.
It is not.
Stealing your hours. That's not good because your body doesn't work that way.
Right. And so I think and it all depends on you, right? So I'm a night owl, just by nature. And some people are night owls by nature. I knew that working in a traditional job, when I went back to, like I said, more traditional work at one point in time from when I took the pay cut or whatever. And I guess I can just say these things. So I took a pay cut when I went to work for my church, right? And then I went to work for HarperCollins Christian Publishing. Mm-hmm. And so there, I got a little bit of an increase, but it still wasn't what I was making when I was working at Stillcase. When I was working at Stillcase, I was making really, really good money. And so when I went to HarperCollins, I was like, I haven't had to be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning for probably, I told them 9 years, I think, 9 years, because when I worked at Meyer, I, had not my own schedule, but I didn't go until 9 o'clock. Right. When I worked at my church, I didn't go in until 9 o'clock. And Stillcase is a very flexible company, right? And so Stillcase's mode and way of operating is very entrepreneurial, right? So that's another thing. It gets you ready for it, right? So you can work from home. You work from wherever you feel comfortable.
Wow.
During the day, they don't have a dress, their dress code is on book, be appropriate. That's it, so, there's no suits, no business casual, no, I mean, it is if you want it,
right.
But, you come in and every day you look different, some days I may want to wear a dress, some days I may want to wear jeans, and all of that is fine. And all of that is appropriate, right? Mm-hmm. And so the other thing with that was your schedule, right? So you may come in, I would go in generally between 9:30, 10 o'clock, and about 3 o'clock, and then I would come home. Right. And I would finish working, at home or whatever. And so just not having to be up every day, in the morning. So, and I knew that going back into a 8 o'clock job, I'm just not productive, in the morning or whatever. And so a benefit is to, create a schedule that you actually are productive and not just be wasting time, sitting at a desk for an hour, not doing anything, right? Easing to your day, that type of thing.
That would be tough. That right there, because like you said, different jobs you've been able to the freedom of
Yeah.
time or your own schedule kind of stuff. That would be the tough part, because like you said, you're on
Right.
your own time. You get up whenever you want, you go to sleep whenever you want. You just like, that would be hard to manage.
Yeah.
That would be hard. So I can see that being the tough part about now you on your own accord to do what's in the best interest of you and your health.
In the best, and you know, the thing is, I think also is that when people, if you're not self-aware, right? So if you're not self-aware, if you're not a workaholic, if you don't, you know, understand what it really takes, if you don't have that discipline, you know, if you have pride, like if you have too much pride, like all these things are things that will kill your business. And you know, you'll be running that hamster wheel. So I see other people, you know, operating businesses, and I'm like, okay, well, you know, here are some things that, you know, you could possibly do differently, that type of thing. Some people grind too much on the wrong things, right? So that's another big thing is, you know, understanding how to work smarter, not harder. And then like huge benefit is literally taking a day off and not thinking about like, is it okay for me to take a day off, or getting sick and feeling like, oh, I don't know if I should call in, if I shouldn't call in. Every job tells you call in if you're sick. And honestly, a lot of them are really serious now about that. But at the same time, you're like, oh, if I take 2 to 3 days, that's going to be too much, you know? But on the other side, same thing with the challenge of entrepreneurship, right? Yeah, you can take like 1 day to be sick, but after that, like you need to jump in. Like everything you do is money, right? And so that's the biggest thing. And I haven't even talked about like the challenge of money, you know?
Yes, I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. I mean, when is she gonna get to that part?
And you know what?
Coming.
Because I don't think about it that much, because of the way things happen for my business. So when I quit my job, I already had a client that was on retainer month to month. And that client paid me enough to actually pay my mortgage, right? So I already had a client on retainer that like covered my mortgage, right?
Get out of here.
No. And so like that was one of the things that I had already built, you know, and then I had a significant savings too, right? So like
she must be reading my notes. I gotta stop this because that was my next question. What strategies you put in place? We did not rehearse this, people. Trust me.
We did not.
Followed right in line with my questions. But yeah, strategies.
So like I literally had a client that was already paying my mortgage or whatever. When you know, because I'll tell this story, and this is one thing that I will not tell anybody to do. I literally was like on my job, I was there for 7 months, and I was like, nope, and just got up and left.
Wow.
Right? And so it wasn't like this 2-week plan. It wasn't like, I mean, I had like thought about it like over like maybe like the weekend and stuff like that.
She said, don't do that, people. So don't put this in your notes. Don't do this.
Do not do this, because there's some remorse that comes afterwards. Like after you have your liberation period, then it's like, especially if that's not like you, like that's not my MO, like to just leave. But I just was like, this is too anxiety producing, this type of thing. I was like, no, I'm not doing this again. Like I'm not doing this. So I just was like, nope, I'm out. So things that, you know, definitely helped is big thing. I have a counselor that I go to every week.
There you go.
So whether it's counselor, a therapist, all this kind of stuff, like we'd worked, you know, out like what are good plans for me from a career situation, right? And, you know, he was like, either you need to do this or you need to work for yourself. And that was probably like a couple of weeks before, like, you know, I decided was like, nope, I'm just out, because I already knew that, like, I know my personality. The other thing is I had over a year's worth of savings, right, in my in my account.
There you
go.
Go.
And that's not including 401k. That's not including, you know, retirement.
That's
so this
just
is like
savings.
Straight up savings, right? And so all those years, you know, of doing this, and this is even after I like took that $30,000 pay cut, right? So like I tell people, like, pay off your debt. Like I don't have a car note. So I only have like a mortgage. I have student loans, which you can totally, you know, adjust what you're paying for those once you go. Um, I read a lot of books about being an entrepreneur before actually being an entrepreneur. So, when it comes to, what to expect, like one person was like, save at least 6 months, don't quit your day job immediately, like all this kind of stuff. Like, I know it's liberating. I know, all these types of things, but do not do this. Right. And then I read one of the kickers probably was reading Gary Vee, and he's so freaking motivational.
That dude there.
And so I was like, yeah, I can do this. And I'm like, I kind of blamed it on Gary Vee. I was like, wait, you made me quit my job.
Yeah, you like jumping out the cubicle fire, just
right
in.
And so that was, I read like a ton of books, and I still read books, because you need to read, books and articles, whether it's about your field. Like, you need to know your industry. That's one thing. And then also so for me, knowing my industry wasn't the hardest, because I had been working in my industry. So that was one advantage, was working in my industry, having deep knowledge of my industry, having a lot of traditional experience, and, being both a leader and a doer within that industry. Right. And so I spent a lot of time looking at contracts, signing contracts for vendors who are doing exactly the same thing that now I would be doing, right? And so I looked at the approval process. What did we do when we brought them in? What their contracts actually look like. Like, I had like a huge contract at first, and I was like, wait, these people are sending like one page, things. And I was like, wait a second, I'm working too hard on contracts and all this kind of stuff. Like, that type of thing.
So you fully immerse yourself in everything looked like marketing, everything looked like years of knowledge that you had working for someone else, but you immerse yourself in what it would look like for you.
Right. And I really did love I do love what I do. So it's easier for me. I also come from an entrepreneurial family. So that's helpful to know. That is very, very helpful to know that entrepreneurship is not new for my family. So it wasn't like jumping over some leap, convincing like parents and grandparents and all this kind of stuff that I'm gonna like work for myself now. I'm not married, so I guess I should say that. Like, but like, I do have a boyfriend, and like I wrote I wrote my mom, and I was like, the day that I was like leaving, I texted her, I was like, I think I'm breaking up my job today. Or whatever. Right. And she was like, here's what you're going to do. She was like, either you're going to get a job in management, right? Because like when I was at my church, I had a leader role, right? When I went back to HarperCollins, I took another senior role in marketing, right? And she was like, either you're going to get a role in marketing or you're going to grind in your business. And she was like, do not take another lateral, position.
Wow.
Or whatever. And so, and my mom is
that's advice you had.
Yeah. And so, and I have like an aunt and uncle in Atlanta. They own a security business, right? And it's a huge security business. And so that's helpful for me, like being able to see some type of model. But honestly, like how you asked me about my MBA, my family, we don't really talk like about like what it's like to own a business and to do these types of things. Like with your family, in your family, right? So you're not like on all these ego trips and all this kind of stuff. Right. One day I was actually talking to my uncle about like marketing or whatever. He was like, wait, you're really smart with this. And I was like, yeah, like I am. I'm really, really good. Like I've always been like a top, person for stuff. And so, but yeah, like we just, family is family. It's not like
in your DNA. You just have it. You just have it. Right.
It. And so like, I know that it's possible, but also counseling helped me. Because I was like, how can a girl from the hood, actually own this business and go, being frank and honest, go into these white-owned companies, and say, okay, like this is why you should invest in me, right? And I did not have that confidence at first. That's the reason why it took so long, because I was still in my brain this girl from the hood. I don't care that I have 2 degrees, an MBA, working for a multinational, global brand that Steelcase is, Meyer with 200 stores in 5 different states, getting promotions. Like, I don't care that none of these things, like they've had a chance to actually get to know me.
Right.
But going in as a Black girl, like I said, from the hood, like why should somebody actually trust to invest their dollars in me? Right. And so counseling really helped with that question, with that notion of saying, he pretty much is a reverse question. Well, why should they? Right. Pretty much, right? And so you have to explain why they should. And you're like, wait, this is real. Like, I really do have this knowledge and this experience and, you know, all these things. And I really do have something that's valuable. But it's like a while. Like, even after I was in the middle of melanin and marketing by this time.
Wow.
And to say, because, you know, I still was selling myself very short on the customers, you know, and a lot of people actually try to get individuals to purchase their products. And I was doing the same thing, right? Like, if I can get this person invest $50 over here and this person invest $50, you know, $100 over here, then great. Not thinking that now I'm writing contracts for like thousands of dollars with companies, right?
Girl.
Not like that type of thing. Like, you can really be writing contracts that are thousands of dollars.
And that shot that confidence right up, didn't it?
Right. And so when you ask about money now, it's like, wait, because I like got another retainer client like pretty much 2 weeks after I like left. And I didn't know that was coming, right? And then after that, I got like another client that's like, I work as a web developer for them. And because my skills are so diverse,
and I
do strategy, I do development, I write, I do everything. And so it's like, I can jump in and out in so many different places, which is good for me, because if I was only doing web development, I want to shoot myself in the head. You know, if I was only doing strategy, I want to punch somebody else because they're not following it.
Right.
You know, like, no, it's
you got to be all over the map to keep your sanity.
Exactly. And then sometimes, you know, I just design, like graphic design. And I like that because that was self-taught, you know, so it was self-taught. And I have to like give this caveat.
Y'all taking notes, people, so y'all know who to look up for stuff. Just saying.
Right. I have to like give this caveat when it comes to being self-taught as a graphic designer. The role of a marketer, you give a lot of the direction for the designs, right? And you do a lot of the approval for the designs, which means that you work with designers a lot. So it wasn't like I didn't have design principles and I didn't understand design principles. Right. Sometimes people go out and they're like, oh, I'm going to be self-taught and I'm just going to do this. But they have zero understanding of what it takes to actually.
You got to have a little bit. You can't just
a designer
together.
Right? And also, like, I was talking to my boyfriend, and I was like, yeah, I developed these skills over 10 years. It wasn't like I just one day was like, oh, I'm going to go out and be a designer, right? No, it took me 10 years to learn Photoshop, to like learn all of that, to actually design, versus, you know, somebody who went to school and it takes them 4 years, right? And like, we have to be understanding of like the patience sometimes that it takes to say and to offer like these skills. And I offered design like before, and I was like, what the heck was I doing? Because this stuff sucks. Right. And so I stopped offering it because I was like, this sucks. Like, I'm not good at this.
And you were your own judge and jury, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. And that's the other challenging part, because sometimes people want to pay you and you're like, now don't talk about those challenges, people who don't pay.
Ooh. Yeah. See, girl,
that's a challenge, people who don't pay.
After you've done all the work.
Yep. After you've done all the work. So my contract now specifically with solopreneurs is a 50% down payment.
And most people I work with do the 50%. They do 50% down, then you do the rest when you're done.
Yeah. I don't do it for corporate clients, because corporate clients are used to doing like a net 30, net 45, which means they pay 30 to 45 days afterwards. Like, I'm okay with that because I know my money is coming from y'all.
You said net 30.
Right.
My husband turned me on that net 30 stuff. You ever heard net 30? I said, what? No, I never heard net 30.
And I love that because, like, once again, working in corporations and working in what I do is I can go in and I speak the language, right? So it's not like I'm selling once again and not knowing what I'm doing. And I know from being on the other side, when I was working for my church, and this guy was like, can you cut me a check now? Wait, you're like a whole
30. It take a while. We got to go through the hands, go through the loops, go through the board, go through the quiz. You got to have that profits work. You don't just get a check. You got to make sure my director got to send it up the chain to the chair. To, you know, it's
exactly. I mean, even the same thing with companies. You know, like when you're paying somebody, who knows how much money. People don't understand. Now I'm talking frustrations now. people don't understand how much like a
y'all stay with us now. Stay with us. We gonna move to the next one.
Yeah, how much a website like actually costs or anything like that, right? People don't understand that. Like things are expensive, and if you want to go out and get a $400 website, by all means, go do it. I'm not the person to do it for you. I'm not doing it. You know, I literally just did a website, just the development work, not design, for probably over $2,000 or whatever.
That's the rate I've been getting. Cause I've checked around for some too, and it's like 1,800, 2,000. You know, for the real workflow, everything to connect. We ain't talking about just going up a Wix. Because most starters, and because I'm a starter, my site is on Wix. You talk about starter grassroots companies. Yes, you direct them to your Wix. Your WordPress is still way too complicated to me, if you ask me.
And that's what I designed. So I use WordPress, right?
WordPress is crazy.
And I use
something.
Custom WordPress stuff too, right? And so that's why the prices get there. Even this project that I just did, I was like, I just charged way too little for.
It's a lot of work because I wouldn't dare try to venture into that
work, right? So yeah.
If that ain't your niche, don't even try to venture in that world. Get someone who does it if you really, when you get to that level. But just to starter, go with some plug and play stuff.
Honestly, like the other part too is that people don't understand websites are like expensive. Like I've worked on a website that was $1 million or more, right? Like it all depends on what's going into the website. And when I'm saying $1 million, I'm talking literally just about like the development, like the full website for the company. But I'm not talking about like what we actually got paid also. For working, you know, as a web team, right? So we're talking just outside costs. Yeah.
So I know y'all think we just fell off the grid and just started talking, but we still on cue. Because I just had to figure out what, you know, we were on that question, challenges and benefits and all the stuff. Now she done told y'all, I took lots of notes. I'm a note taker. So when you see me that's what I'm doing. I'm writing down notes. So just to go over some of the stuff she's talked about, just in case y'all got lost somewhere in our story. Working smarter, not harder. We talked about the benefits. She talked about the freedom of time she loves and how she can be authentic. She can be all in. To no filter. I like that no filter part. No filter. Just do what you want to do. And then the self-care part. That's the huge part. Self-care part of being able to take your walks and take your breathers, get away from the computer, get off the desk, do all that stuff. Talked about managing their schedule. You know, I like that part where you talked about managing your schedule, because that is a tough part with that whole time thing. Because again, I see my husband doing it and I don't understand it. Because I'm still in that 9-to-5 cubicle farm world.
Right.
I'm still in that 3 weeks of, now the crazy thing about it, 3 weeks of being off, I'm still on that 9-to-5 schedule. I get up and thank God I got me an office space before I got laid off. So I have a place I can come to. But I come in my little space I get up. My clock still goes off. You said I can work at 7, but I now sleep in till 7:45. So I'm in here by 8 or 9 o'clock in my own little space, and I leave at 4 or 5. I still get up and do the same thing. Because I have to keep myself in that same.
And that's the thing. If that's what works for you, like I knew at like my old jobs when like I would get tired, I knew how much time it actually took me to do my job. I was like, I'm literally getting paid to do like work that literally it takes me 6 hours.
Oh yeah, easily. You know, like, you're just there 8 hours, but you don't give them 8 hours of work.
Exactly, and it's not because I don't want to. Like I work fast, right? And so that's the other part about, you know, still case and like working like where you want to work and how you want to work or something, you know, different things like that. It's just like I was a fast worker. So sometimes, you know, I would work until like 11 o'clock at night, even at still case, right?
Oh my God, girl.
That's what I did and that's how I rolled, right? But then the next day, you know, I may do things differently. So it literally, and that was the flexibility of the company. And that's what helped, you know, kind of transition your mindset. Like somebody told me, another coworker, he's a chief communications officer at a company now. And I met like the sole action plan was literally like going and meeting with people that I knew, and especially people who were decision makers, right?
Yes.
For companies. And so I met with him and he pretty much was like, look, after you work for Stillcase, you can't work for anybody else who doesn't have like the same type of mentality that they have, because it's so different and you don't know that until you actually work there. You leave back out of the doors and you're like, oh yeah, I am still in Grand Rapids, right? And so
still case just don't know what they got going on, huh? They're turning out entrepreneurs.
Oh, they do. They know, they focus on the thing.
Oh my God.
That's how they hire for it, you know?
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Flexibility.
Yeah, they know 100% what they do. They focus on how people work and how people are, you know, the best employees to make the best businesses and that type of thing. Like we think, oh, you know, Steelcase makes office furniture. Yeah, they do. But where does office furniture go? Inside of companies and organizations, right? And so how do you meet the needs of these organizations and companies? Now we're talking that marketing piece and business strategy, but like
you should give a Steelcase a plug, but that's okay. That's good. If you want to go work for Steelcase.
Yeah, if you want to work for Steelcase, go ahead, you know, do that or whatever, you know, if you want to like,
before you jump into entrepreneurship full time.
So if you want to know what it's like to work like a chicken with your head cut off, like at all times, whatever, work at Meijer because it's like drinking out of a fire hydrant or whatever, you know what I mean? So if you need to learn like discipline in the like, I don't want to say it like this, but dog eat dog world, everybody needs this though, right? Right. You need the fast grind. So Meijer was the fast grind. Steelcase was let me really sit back and think about this and think about everything that's happening. In real life, you need both of those. They need to merge
giving
together.
You the tips on what led her here. So that is good. Yeah. And that's what people don't understand, that the job you're currently in, don't just discount your 9 to 5. You can learn something from it.
You have to take everything.
Yes, take it into consideration because that's what sort of helps mold you into the person you are. That when you do get out here, you got the grind, you got the confidence, you got everything you need because you learn how to be that person from doing your 9 to 5s. So those did help, and it's just everything you said with the whole the managing the schedule. And I like that you use Gary V. I can never say his name. Vaynerchuk. The wine guy. He's crazy. That wine guy, because yes, his father had it. Now he has it. He's extended it just crazy. And he's energetic. He gets you going. He'll have you jumping out of your 9 to 5. You go to work like, Gary V, I quit. Because you just like, he has you going into work and quitting your job.
Every single day, you know?
Guy is crazy.
I didn't like him at first. Like,
I loved him.
He talks about that. He's like, you hate me or you love me. And I was like, yeah, I hated you at first. Like, I did not like him at first. I was like, he's giving bad advice, blah, blah, blah. Then I kept listening. I was like, wait, this guy knows what he's talking about. Hold on for a second. Let me keep listening. Okay, 3 books later. Okay. Yeah.
So listen to Gary Vaynerchuk, people, but also be mindful. He'll have you doing some things out of your character, just saying, but just make sure. But I would like you to drop that book. Drop a book, because you mentioned books that you read. Just give us one that you can think of that would be a good book. Just to
know what? For me, my best book that I would say is Girl Boss by Sophia Amoruso. I don't know her last name. But she may still own Nasty Gal. But she talks about how she started her business and her grind, also how she grew kind of slow in the beginning, which allowed her to make her mistakes in private. Yes. Right?
Grow slow to make your mistakes. That's a good one. Write it down, people.
So that's my number one. Like if I had to say any book to start with, that's my number one book that I tell people to start with. There's a ton that are out there, but that's the one.
I'm still writing grow slow to make your mistakes. I like that.
Yeah.
Grow slow to make your mistakes. That one I do like. I am curious though. Do you ever miss the cubicle farm? And people, I call it the cubicle farm because people are like, where's the cubicle farm? It's just your 9 to 5, the cubicle.
Oh, I love it. I love that name. Yeah.
Yeah.
I called it the paper factory, but the cubicle farm, paper factory. Do I miss it? No. I'm not a traditional worker, you know, and so I don't.
Right there.
Yeah, I don't like rules.
Oh.
It's just so much about it that I don't miss. And you can build / still have community outside of, you know, that work. So I actually I outsource some of my work to my to a former coworker who also works, full time as a marketer, right? Or full time for herself as a marketer, right? And so like we talk a lot during the day or whatever. It's you can't, like I said, you can still build community. There's the one thing about Grand Rapids also is there's beautiful community of togetherness and unity, right? And so this is both within, like people of color or Black people, and then also within like the marketing world. I can't talk about like other industries or whatever, but like within the marketing world, in the entrepreneurial world in general, like we're out there like, oh, do you want to have coffee? Let's meet. Let's do this. Let's see how we can work together. Let's just meet for a sanity hour, right? And so like you do still have, if you're okay with making community and creating community, you still have community that you can go and work with.
That's what people say. They leave work. That means I don't have my work family. I don't have my support. And that's what most people say they miss the most, is that getting together with the whole camaraderie. Can I say the word? Camaraderie. If that's how you say the word. They miss that part.
Yeah.
But like you just solved that problem for everybody. Like what? Get your community outside of that.
Well, and it's because once again, like I keep friends from job to job to job.
Yes.
So that's one thing. I'm a pretty social person, even though like I have like I'm a cusp introvert, extrovert, right? But I have to have people. I have to go out, and I have to, talk or whatever. And being atypical with hours, right? So I'll go do something in the middle of the day, So people are so used to just being like, okay, well, 8 to 5, I'm here and I'm here with these people and my friends. Like me and my friends, we might text each other and be like, girl, let me tell you about this client, blah, blah, blah. Girl, let me tell you. So like, and because they've done the work also, they get it. Like your entrepreneurial friends, like even if they're not doing like the same thing that you're doing, like I have so many of them, I'm like, girl, let me tell you about this right now. And they're like, yeah, girl, I know, blah, blah. And then they also help you process, like, is this client worth having? You know what I mean? Like, do you need to break up with your client right now?
Exactly.
All this type of stuff. So like you still have community if you decide to. And that was one of the first, because like the first couple of weeks I was like, oh, it's starting to get a little lonely here. And so I was like, let me figure out the solution to this loneliness. That was
solve that problem.
Yeah.
Because that's most of the people I've interviewed, they say that too. You get to your periods of loneliness, it's just you and you just got to get out. But yeah.
Oh, you definitely have to get out. Like I have like on my schedule 2 times a week, which we can't do as much anymore. But I have field trip on there, and that's literally like I just go to Michael's, I go to Target, I go like somewhere.
Oh my God, you solved that problem.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Yeah. You solved that problem. You say field trip, gotta get out of here. Yeah, I hope y'all writing this down. She's giving some good nuggets, some good notes. These things you wouldn't even think about because you think about the loneliness, but not building in your schedule field trips, building in your schedule of contacts, getting with friends and talking. So that's good. We get ready to wind this up, girl. We have been on for almost an hour. I told you how quick it goes. I don't know what I was thinking, those 30-minute interviews.
I looked at the clock.
We have not gone 30 minutes.
I looked at the clock and I was like, oh no, we're 40 minutes in already.
Okay, we're good though. We're gonna wrap this one up quick. Support systems. You talked about counsel and not coaches. You talked about having a counselor. I love that idea. Do you that was before you went into entrepreneurship? Are you still seeking that help or mentor coaches, and how beneficial is it?
So I personally, I don't have business coaches. Well, let me start. I did have a score coach for a little while. So I did have one of those. I do not use that. Actually, I think they just drop off on me. I don't know why sometimes, but they dropped off on me. But I think partially it's because I have, business degrees, right?
Yes.
And so marketing is in the school, or was in the School of Business at Michigan State. So a lot of stuff, you already know when you're going into it, and also thinking about this for a while, you already know stuff. Now, I will say this, and I will say this adamantly. If you have never run a business, if you have never worked in the corporate world, if you don't have a full scope, like a lot of the business plan that people talk about is actually marketing, because marketing is product, place, price, and promotion, right? It's not just advertising, right? And so if you don't have like the scope of that, you need to talk to somebody else, right? You also need a sounding board, because you need somebody to be realistic with you. Like my mom is my accountability person. She's also my business manager, right?
Love it.
And so like when I was thinking about this and, you know, going back and forth, she was like, well, is it a job or is it a hobby? Right. And I had to answer that question. And at that time, it was more like a jobby, kind of a hobby. Like I heard somebody say jobby before, but it was kind of like a hobby. Like, this is fun, blah, blah, blah. And I had to get real. And you're like, okay, if you want this for your job, you have to treat this like a job, right? So like I did have, and I still have somebody that's accountability person. I still go to her and I'm like, what should I be doing differently? What should I blah, blah. Like one time she said, do not learn another skill.
Right.
Start networking with people or whatever, because I would spend so much time behind my desk and not doing the people
learning new stuff and getting out.
I'm shy. I'm a pretty shy person initially. And so I'm like, I don't want to, you know, go meet new people. So that was something that was a challenge and it was a hurdle for me. Right. Just in general. And that I will say this, businesses are not made behind the computer. Businesses are made by going and talking to people face to face. Right. Yes. So get over it.
Yes. Get out, people. Yes.
Yeah. So yes, definitely a coach, a business coach, that type of thing. Some accountability people around you. Especially if you're not self-aware and if you don't know how to be realistic, if you have pride issues, if you know you're stubborn, all this type of stuff, you need these people for that. They will help you set boundaries, all that type of stuff. My counselor is, I have anxiety. I was diagnosed with depression and like clinical depression, like my junior year of college, between junior and senior year, but really I knew it my junior year.
Right.
And so I've had counselors and therapists on and off, you know, over the years. And this one now I've had for like almost probably 2 years now.
Wow.
And so we deal with the anxiety, we deal with all these things that, you know, deal with life. But some of this stuff, you know, work is integrated into why are you so anxious right now? And you know, all these types of things. And that's probably one of the reasons why when you're like, will you ever go back like to a cubicle farm? Right. No, I get to manage my anxiety the way that I manage my anxiety, that type of thing. I don't have to think about like whether or not when is the right time to tell somebody, oh, I have anxiety disorder.
Right.
Oh, I can have clinical depression and I might need, you know, a day off just to deal with depression and I don't know where it comes from. Right. You know? That type of thing or whatever. Like you just
deal with it when you need to deal with it.
Right. And honestly, like when we had to write stuff down, it's like, well, what's one of your triggers? People is one of my triggers, you know? Yeah. And just because of like no filter. Right. And so when I have to filter myself, then now I'm frustrated and I'm angry, which then makes me anxious, you know, and that type of thing. And then I can't be the best person who I am. So like the counseling definitely helps. You need somebody to help you walk through the hills and valleys of entrepreneurship.
Right.
Like I said, I don't have to really worry about that as much, except for the being overwhelmed piece, right? Like it's not the money piece, it's the being overwhelmed. And sometimes it is the money piece. Like I was trying to grow so fast, so quickly, right? I was like, I need this, and this. And I like had to come to a realization like, girl, it's been 4 months. Chill out.
Like it's gonna be there 4 months. It's 4 months. I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to have arrived.
No, it's not that I was supposed to have arrived. It was like I want 5 employees.
Right. I mean, growth. You want your growth to be like
years. And so in order to get there, I need to be moving at this pace right now. And I'm like, what are you doing? It's for chill out. Chill out.
It takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah.
You know, the beautiful thing about what you just said, Regina, is the fact that it's okay to seek counsel. I think a lot of people think that's a negative. And because I work, I'm laid off, but I work in the behavioral health counseling field. So that's that's where I've worked 9 years. Not as a therapist, but I manage a behavioral health counseling center. My master's degree is organizational management.
Awesome.
So my master's degree, I do compliance drills, making sure workflows, you know, the whole.
That's what set me apart, actually.
That's my, that's all my, So I got my master's degree back in 2008. So that's what I love to do. I love workflow, looking at how things come together and working smarter, not harder, taking out the middleman, you know, however you want to look at it. That's my whole thing. So in managing a behavioral health counseling center, I'm all about making sure that, you know, people understand that you do need that component. And it's not a negative thing. As people call in or they'll come in and say they don't want anybody to know this. And certain families are like that. But
I know.
because you cannot function day to day without having counsel. You have to seek someone. And those little things you talk about may be, and I say little things because, and I see people come in with tons of.
No, yeah. And I used to be like way horrible. Like right now, nobody can see it right now, but like with COVID.
It's little, it's small. Everybody's seeking.
I said, I have OCD, right? So COVID heightens OCD.
Yes.
So right now, like I started seeing my hands swelling up, and then like because I'm washing them too much. Right?
I am there with you. I understand.
Yeah.
When it first hit Michigan, we had people coming in, and the therapists couldn't keep up. The calls were coming in because people were like, "What's going on?" Then we had someone come in that she just couldn't wait for her therapist because she had to be seen now because she learned that Biden. I'm going on a political tip with that. But Biden is now running, and he's just, it's just going to be going to hell in a handbasket. Just the anxiety level increased.
Oh my gosh.
Just because the whole political
But it's true though. Yeah.
All those things that, now this COVID thing, imagine how many people are seeking counsel now because of this. Like you said, it's just the uncertainty, unknowing, unsure of how this is going to unfold. People are on edge with this.
Yes.
So that's why I say I am a huge proponent of people seeking counsel because, again, this is the area I happen to be working in, and I know people come in for things like that and just able to function. Changes don't go over well with people. You do some major changes.
Major. Yeah.
It's major for them. You'd be like, just get over it. Just do it.
Right, exactly.
No, it's a little bit more than that for people who the anxiety kicks in. So that's why, thank you for talking about this, because I understand it on a level that, because this is my area that I have to work in and I see it every day. But just knowing that it is not a bad thing. And when you're making a huge change and shift like you're getting ready to make going into entrepreneurship, you need to talk to someone.
Yes.
It's going to affect all areas that you can't even see coming towards you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that piece. The first one brought up the whole counsel piece. Most people talk about coaches and mentors.
Yeah.
But you're the first person to bring up that, you sought counsel because of all those areas.
Yeah.
And it's okay to do. Oh, I'm so glad you brought this up. Because I so believe in doing that for so many reasons.
I was like, it's your passion, another passion, which is another passion of mine because of just, like you said, and when I started, it was like in 2000 when it, like the whole behavioral health thing was, or like mental health thing was not a popular topic at that time, and so people were giving me all kinds of advice without like knowing, different things. And now that I know things, like just so many things, I'm even an exception to Whitmer's rule for like, if you need to care for a sick person, right? If I get into a certain position and somebody has to come over here, they have to, right? Because like the isolation, once again, like you have to have some type of mental stimulation, like these types of things.
See? So, we're going on a whole nother conversation.
I know. That's what I was like, we can't go on that one, but definitely.
I think we're going to come back and do a show on the mental health and entrepreneurs, because mental health and counsel and why you need that when you're going into this full time. So that's a whole different show. We're gonna come back and do another show just on that, because we have to now that in my head I'm just thinking about all the different questions I can ask. So that'll be a different show. But we're gonna wrap this one up because I can tell you this can go an hour and a half. What advice would you give? And you talked about a lot, Regina. I mean, I got notes everywhere. You talked about a lot, but what one piece of advice you can give that entrepreneur that's going to take that leap, because they're going to take it regardless. They're going to take that leap from the cubicle farm and they're going to jump into entrepreneurship. What advice can you give them on how they can prepare, plan, or whatever? Just Gary gave the advice. Gary is good, but what advice would you give?
Be sound in your decision.
Ooh,
if you're still flopping about it, you may not be ready. So you have to be sound in that decision to take the leap, You know
what? I put that in all capital letters because I like that. Be sound in your decision, because you're going to flip-flop. There's no two ways about it.
And the reality is there are going to be people around you who may try to flip-flop you. Like, girl, how's it? Like, I have people, asking like, oh, how's business? But you're prepped for them. Like, who's who.
Yes.
And like some people are just kind of like trying to see like, are you succeeding? What's going on? You know, that type of thing.
That's code
so,
for her. Let's see what she's really doing.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I'm like, oh, this client is blah, blah. And I have this blah, 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 you know, that type of thing. And it like kind of shuts them up.
Oh
you know?
my God.
So that's that. Know how you roll it out. Right. So I knew my mom and my boyfriend, like, we're going to support that type of thing. So it was like, okay, those were like the first two people. Then I told my entrepreneurial friend, like, she was the third person. I have a lot of entrepreneurial friends, but the one that I outsourced work to, like, she was the third person that I told. And I didn't tell anybody else until like I wrote my my quick letter of resignation.
Oh.
I didn't even tell like my dad or anything like that, because my dad is more like, oh, well, what are you? He was like, so what are you gonna do? This is my job. This is what I do. I work for myself full time, right? Then I also was specific to not tell people who I think would take advantage of my time.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
And so like,
Yes.
I didn't tell other people until like later, because they were like, oh, well, you work for yourself now. You have time. No, I don't actually. I have less time now.
Yeah,
to
you have
be
less
honest.
time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so like just being sound and knowing, because like I said, my dad was, well, what are you going to do? I was like, well, this is my job and this is what I do, you know, and kind of like knowing how to frame it to them. Like my dad, if I say like, oh, I have faith, right? God's going to bless me. Like he's that person, right? So I just know like the right words to say.
Right.
Or whatever.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But you cannot flip flop, because if you're flip flopping, you're gonna.
That's it.
Yeah, you're gonna. I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie. Right now, during COVID or whatever, I'm like, ooh, sometimes, you know, full-time job doesn't sound so bad. You know, traditional job, but it's still like, somebody asked me at one point in time, like a couple of weeks ago, they were like, would you ever go back? And I was like, never. Now, I will say, as I've seen some people like transition from entrepreneurship to like director roles or like leadership roles, I might do something like that.
Yeah, and that's okay.
That's exactly.
Okay.
But more lateral.
Keep your business going no matter what you do, because like you said, it's COVID time. Everybody who says never going back, because you got to do what you got to do.
Right.
Keep your business going. That's all I have to say. Don't forget that part.
Right.
Exactly. Oh my God. I just can't, that be sound in your decision. That stuff. That's.
Yeah. And COVID really isn't affecting it affected in a different way, because I'm communication. So it increases the communication.
That's right.
Out to people, right? And you have to develop communications plans
online.
To develop this, right? Online, you have to transition people to online, right?
Everybody's going online and don't know
for
how.
Me, it was different, right? I was like, oh my gosh, COVID hit and I hated here, because it wasn't like as calm anymore. I was like, I hated here every day. Like the first 4 weeks, I was like, I hated it. I hated
thought about it.
I hated here.
Maybe this could be a good thing.
You're right.
I love it. Girl, you know what? And that's why I got to get better at these shows, because I know I can just go forever, because I get so intrigued. I get so like, oh my God, it's such good information. So I just be forgetting about the time. But I just hate to wrap this up, but that's okay. Because I see something else with the whole counseling part. I got little nuggets I've put asterisks by, I've underlined, I've circled over here. I got a whole different topics thing going on over here. So I'm listening, but I'm still keeping notes, because other shows down the line I can add on to. So that's what I'm thinking about. But thank you for that advice that you gave. It's be sound in your decision, people. Don't just be popping out there doing some stuff and then just popping out there, just going. Make sure you're sound in your decision. So I like that you said that. That was good information. I just want to, anything you have, where can people find you? That's what I want you to make sure you read that.
My website is rrpmarketing.com. And you can also find my group at Melanin and Marketing on Facebook. Those are the two probably good places to start. You can definitely find me on Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn. I may have shenanigans. I actually do have shenanigans right now on TikTok also. So just know I'm a well-rounded human being. So you might see some funny stuff or whatever
out there. Everywhere.
Yeah. So, and I do that specifically because that's, you know, what I have to work in. So I have to know how all these things work. Right. So definitely just look up Regina R. Patterson or Regina Patterson and you'll find me.
Thank you so much. And We are so glad you popped into the No Plan B Entrepreneur Straight No Chaser podcast show. And yeah, she told it like it was too. She did not. Did y'all know? She's probably saying some stuff. She said, did I just say that? Because that's how I need to go back on the replay. I probably shared a lot. Because if no one ever asks you these questions, you don't have time to tell your story.
You don't.
I like that
right?
You were, transparent and sharing, your jobs and what led you to this job, and how you left one and you thought about it later, and
right.
So those are
and I never tell anybody the pay cut. Like I took $30,000 pay cut.
Yeah, just sharing that. You're like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, did you just say that? I was like, go make it that time, girl.
Right, everybody was.
Wait a minute. So those are transparent moments that you do some things sometimes. In hindsight 2020, you're like, maybe I should have did it that way. But that's why you're here sharing with people so they can ease their pain of doing
exactly.
Or think about how you're just gonna walk off, or think about, not just listen to a show like Gary Vee and then just go take your little box to work and start clearing off your desk.
Right.
So you want to think about all that stuff. So again, thank you for taking the time to join us. Thank you for taking time to drop those nuggets and sharing your transparent story with us here at the No Plan B Entrepreneur Straight No Chaser podcast show.
Thank you.
And we will see you again, because we will see you again.
Awesome.
Trust me. Thank you. Have a good day, and we will talk to you on the next show as our guest on the No Plan B Entrepreneur Show.